producer's job, that's the crazy thing about producing. So many people don't know what a producer is, and it's because producer means so many things.
Let's imagine you had to teach a class on producing a movie. Where would you start?
Oh gosh, you could start a million different places. Just producing, let's X out directing and the other things. What's the budget? Figure out what the budget is, you know. Where can you cut costs? I would think cost would be the first thing as a producer. I'm sad to say it, but you shouldn't really pay for one location if you're doing an independent film with no money. I hear people paying for locations. I would literally I would write down a location, because the show had 100 locations, right? Bad Advice had 100 locations to find. I write down the location and I would literally go to 30 different places until somebody would say, yeah, you can film here. And each location was like that. So as a producer, you have to look at places where you don't have to spend money. You can do anything for any amount of money. That's the hardest part when somebody's like, well, how much money do you need? And I'm thinking, that's an impossible question to answer. Because whatever money you have, that's the money you need. You got what you got. Stop looking and start doing. You know, you have what you have. I mean, there's certain things that obviously, if you want to destroy a building or something, you know, you better learn special effects, or you better find a building that wants to blow it up. But, you know, it's basically producing is that. It's finding a team around you that's phenomenal. Where can you cut costs, you know? And if you're a creative producer, like there's so many films that come to me now that I'm helping people get distribution. There's so many films that come to me, and I wish they come to me sooner, because it's like, if you're cutting from a room to a room, how much would it have cost for us to just go use a drone? I mean, like, if you find somebody who owns a drone and maybe they'll come out for free and you go shoot all these drone shots, and that just added so much to your film because you're not going from room to room, you know? I never let money stop me. So it's kind of like whatever money we got, let's do it, you know? I'm never afraid to tell anybody as a producer, we don't have any more money. It's either you can do it for free or you can't, you know? Because if they say no, I'm gonna go ask somebody else who potentially will do it for free. And you gotta live by that as a producer, you know? You have as much money as you have. You can't let it hurt your product. So if somebody's out for money, get them out of there, you know? You don't have it at that point. Now, if I was making a studio movie, maybe I'd scratch all kinds of people's backs and get them extra money here and there. But if you don't have it, you don't have it. And you can't be afraid to say you don't have it. I think it depends what process the producer, or what stage of the process the producer comes in on. Because the producer could come in as when it's written and it's only written, you know, that's ideal for a lot of filmmakers. But he might have ideas on how to cut budget in the script. Or this isn't clear in the script. If he comes on as a creative producer, maybe you could change this or that. Maybe you could cast this person or that person. I know this person who could do that. Producer's job, that's the crazy thing about producing. So many people don't know what a producer is. And it's because producer means so many things, you know. And if you're on in the beginning, you could help craft this whole thing and help them save money in all these different ways. I generally don't produce for anybody else other than myself because it's such a detailed job. Like I said, I'm starting to do some projects where people are bringing me on as one of the lead actors and I'm helping them produce. And I save them so much money because if you come on as the beginning, a lot of it has to do with money, but also creatively pointing in the right direction, you know. On set, I'm usually acting and directing, so I don't get to do that so much. But if I was on someone else's project and I wasn't acting that particular day or something like that, a producer could do so many things. I mean, on WALLY Got Wasted, I had to talk to police and security guards and convince them to let us stay there, let us keep filming. You know, that's gonna fall on a producer if you're doing a low budget project, is solving problems. I mean, that's your number one job as a producer, is solving whatever problems come. First, in the pre-production stage, it's trying to see problems before they come and fixing them, getting organization together. During shooting, problems do happen. It's inevitable. Are you gonna whine about it? Are you gonna complain about it? Or are you gonna fix it? So there's no point in whining or complaining. It's literally, okay, how do we fix it? Let's start thinking out of the box. If this side of the room blew off in a tornado, we can only use that side of the room. So what can we do in this part of the room to only use that? And sometimes that makes films better, you know? And on a smaller project, on my project, since I'm producing and directing, maybe in my brain, maybe that's a director's job, but in my brain, a lot of that's a producer's job, you know? So, and in post, shucks, if I came on just as a post-production producer, which actually I did. Actually, there's a film that we just finished, and I came on basically as a producer, just in post. And they didn't finish the film for like years. And somebody was willing to throw a little bit of money at finishing it. And so I brought on the colorist, I brought on the sound mixer, I could have brought on a composer, but they wanted to use their own composer. That's fine. You know, I literally had a strict producing position. So I know that particular one, it was like creatively I allowed the director, I'd be like, well, are you happy? Okay, then we're done. You know, I didn't take any creative input on that because I didn't want to. Now, some of them I might take some creative input and try to convince the person who's making those decisions, because it's the director's decision, creative decisions, to go a certain direction. But, you know, that was just strictly business, you know, and polishing the film to be the best it can be, you know.
And what is that? What is polishing it?
It's color correction, it's sound mixing. When I say polishing, I mean all the post-production of a film. And all those little things make such a humongous difference, you know. Just us, you know, we can hear birds in the background as we sit here. And those birds, if we were filming a scene here, need to be put in post. You know, there's no microphone that's generally going to get that clearly and good quality on the other side of a wall. And then show up in the filming. If you just filmed and recorded it, it wouldn't show up. So you need a sound mixer or a sound effect person. They're two different jobs. But the person doing the Foley needs to then put that bird in, you know. So they would clean up, like for Bad Advice, they would clean, the guys that I do sound mixing, they would clean it all up. They would basically take out all the sounds except for the sounds of the actors. Then they take everything else out, and then they put everything back in, which is not what I recorded. It's birds chirping, it's footsteps, it's all that stuff. It's doing the sound effects and the Foley, which create an atmosphere, which allows, it just helps a viewer become more invested in your film. And if you're not thinking about that as an independent filmmaker, you're not really doing your job well. And I see so many independent films that don't think about that stuff. But that stuff is so important to create an atmosphere for the audience to believe that they're watching something real. And the more things that put them in that room, the more they can get invested in your story, you know. If you have good actors, if you have good lighting, you gotta have good sound. You know, sound is half the film. You know, it's more than half the film. How many people watching silent films? Nobody. How many people are listening to things with no visual? So I would argue that audio is more important than visual. Now, I mean, they're both important. I'm not dissing either one, but it's a very important part of the puzzle. So,
what about attaching talent?
I have a unique perspective on all that, in the sense that I've been turned down so much because I don't have big names. At some point, maybe I'll sell out and direct something with big names in it. And when I say sell out, I mean go with the flow maybe a little more than I do, you know. Creatively, I want to prove and do the things I want to do. And if you start getting more money involved and talented names, I'm guessing I'm going to lose control have a lot less control. And I'm okay with that at some point. But right now, some of the creative things that I'm doing, such as my feature that I'm shooting now, I just really wanted to make what I've envisioned, and I didn't want anyone to get in the way of that. So, but attaching talent is not an easy thing to do, but it's a very niche thing too. Somebody might know somebody who can get somebody to read something or watch your short or whatever, and you get them interested. There's no exact science to that, you know. What makes people do the things they do, you know. If you can somehow inspire an artist, an actor, to be in your thing, feel lucky and embrace it, and hopefully they're good to work with, you know. The reason the names are important is not necessarily, it's funny because there's a lot of films that are made that, you know, that bomb at the theater and have tons of names in it. So it's not necessarily that important for audiences, but it's important to get to the next stage, to get the studio people to pay attention to you and to look at the things. If you have names involved, they understand that language. Even though they don't all follow that rule, they do look at things more if names are in it. So if you can get them attached, it ultimately can help you in the long run to get a deal, from what I've seen, to get better distribution, to get, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's not the answer to everything, but it helps the, you know, the soup you're making to be better. And it definitely helps agents, managers, that level of people to get interested, for sure.